Hey there, welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Violet Vixen. Today I'm going to show you how to make something that I love but I haven't made for ages. This one is called the perfect pecan pie. I used to love making pecan pie and I haven't made it for ages. Saw this recipe and I thought, yes, I'm going to make this one. So here's what we need. Unfortunately, 9 times out of 10 I can always go to Coles and buy the unbaked pastry shell. They didn't have one, and today I ducked into a Woolworths hoping that I'd be able to get it. Couldn't, so I'm using pastry that was in my freezer, not the sheets of pastry, actual pastry from when I was cooking with pastry a few episodes back. I think if you've been watching every show, you'll remember me saying any leftover, weigh it and put it in the freezer. You never know when it will come in handy. This is 133 gram short crust pastry. I think that's going to be enough to make my pastry shell. The recipe was for a 23 centimetre unbaked pie shell. This plate is 23 centimetres. I'm going to make it fit. So I'm going to have to do some rolling and plating for that. Okay, other stuff we need, oven on to 180. I'm doing 160 because my oven acts like it's fan forced even though it's not. It's supposed to cook for an hour. Don't know how that's going to go either. So I'm doing 160. I'll do mine for 40 minutes and check on it and see how it's going. But in the meantime, let's get all these ingredients ready and get this pastry going. So please assume that you already was lucky enough to go to Coles. I'm telling you go to Coles because in my baking years, I mean, if you're in a different area, you might have more luck. But anytime I've needed said pastry shell, I've always had to go to Coles, and it's the only place I've been able to get it, except the other night. And I was not going to do the little tartlets because to me that's not the same. We want to make one big pie, not little tartlets. So we'll get that done. Corn syrup, just so you know, I googled it. It's glucose syrup. There's Queen brand. This brand does a lot of your food colorings and everything. So it's called glucose syrup. It is derived from corn. So that is actually corn syrup. So it's good because I get to use that jar up. Well, not really the whole thing. But anyway, what else can I tell you? 3 tablespoons of melted butter. I'm just going to wing it. Melt it and hope we've got enough. And pecans. I brought these. I've got to chop them up. So I'm going to chop them up in the food processor and see what they look like. So first things first, I'm going to flour up my bench and do my pastry shell. I will show you how to do that just in case you are unlucky to have to do it this way. But as I say, I would not use a sheet of pastry. You can if you want, but for some reason I don't get the same results with if I have to use that. I had to do it once before and I wasn't impressed. So in the back of my mind I kept thinking, surely I've got some pastry left over. And lucky I did. So I'll show you how to roll your shell in case you do have to do that. If you've got no choice but to use the sheet of short crust pastry, then at least you'll know how to lay it in the pan correctly. Alright, so we've got that. Let's go. Okay, so this step you probably aren't going to be doing, but if you do need to make pastry, Google short crust pastry, how to make it. This one, I actually wrote what was in it: egg, butter, caster sugar and flour. It's 133 grams. I can't remember how much one of those pastry shells is supposed to weigh because I don't have one to go off. And I keep often thinking, why don't I get 2? And then my theory is, well, what if I don't need it for a long time and it sits in the freezer going crappy? So yeah, it's probably because of the time I went in. You know, it's not like I can go in at 10 a.m. in the morning or anything and just walk in and hope for the best. I don't have that luxury to be able to go shopping at any time. And I'm not going to get my groceries delivered because sometimes you don't get what you want anyway. So not all the time. I have had to have them delivered a couple of times. Mainly just when I couldn't get out to do it. So I don't knock the service. I just would personally rather go and get what I need myself, and then that way I know what I'm getting. I'm really hoping this is going to be enough, because right now it's looking like the smallest piece of pastry on the planet. But never fear, we are definitely not resorting to the sheet of puff pastry, sheet of short crust pastry. Now with this one, you don't pre-bake the pastry. It's going to bake while it's going on. I think that's going to do it. Or maybe just a bit more there. Okay. So I need to grease this. Best way to grease it is get a tissue, add a little bit of margarine. I'd rather do butter or margarine than cooking spray, because you've already got butter in it anyway, so all it's going to do is add a bit of a buttery taste to it, as opposed to a canola or olive oil taste. Okay, now if you can vaguely remember, or if you're lucky enough to have one in front of you, the pastry does actually go right up the top, and they crimp it. It looks like it's been pushed down with a fork. Obviously, at the Pampas factory, they have proper forks and perfect machinery and all that. Not like my pastry here. But I've got my pastry, I don't have theirs, so sorry, Mr. Pampas. Maybe next time I need your pastry, I might be fortunate enough to go into Coles and get some. It's really disappointing, because I always do enjoy using that pastry. Now, as I say, if you are having to do what I'm doing now, because you've made your own pastry, we're going to just carry it over. Now the good thing with this pastry is you can actually press it in. So, which looks like what I'm going to have to do, because I got a bit excited about getting the pastry ready. Okay, so any overhang, just cut, push it in. See, in the scheme of things, this probably wasn't enough pastry, but I don't know. Probably going to have to Google to see how big said pastry shell was going to be. I'll just try and roll this bit out and see if I can push it in to there. It rolls quite easily. I have had it out of the freezer for a while, and it is a humid day, so I guess that's lucky for me. I actually I'm a little bit late cooking this today. I heard a noise from my bedroom, and probably a little bit freaky in my case, because my necklaces, which I've had hanging from the same nail with this on the same coat hanger for probably about 8 years, just decided they wanted to fall down. Now, that's very weird because they're only my necklaces on there. I have not put anyone else's on there yet. So, I don't know if it's a sign. Maybe it was a sign to cook this pie later, because it definitely did. And I haven't even finished doing what I was doing anyway. Alright. So, that is my pastry shell. Not quite as good as the manufactured one, but this pastry was very nice, so it's not the end of the world. Okay, now that we have a pastry shell, we are up to step 2. Alright, so I've grabbed a bowl. Okay, so into this bowl we're going to beat the eggs lightly, so we want 3. I just got all the eggs out. Can actually use from the back because they're all the same batch. Okay, so what I do is I crack them into the cup. This way I'm not going to get any nasty surprises and or shell. No one really likes eggshell. 1. Now it says large eggs. I always try and buy the 700-gram eggs anyway. Think you can't buy any bigger, but don't quote me. At least from a chicken. So yeah, I always try and buy those bigger ones. Especially for like making dippy eggs and poached eggs and everything. If you're going to eat an egg, you want to eat an egg, not a little pigeon egg. Alright, so we're just going to give those a light beat. So the best way to do that is just grab a small whisk. Everything else from here we could do with a wooden spoon. Or handy pink spatula. Let's go with handy pink spatula. Okay, we're going to add half a cup of sugar, white sugar, not caster sugar. In that goes. Now what I like to do is after each addition give it a whip. So you should learn to do the same as well. Half a teaspoon of salt. Possibly a little bit hard for me to get half a teaspoon of salt out of this. But if I hold it in my hand like that, I could possibly get close enough. Alright, it's close enough. I don't really think you need a lot of salt in it. We are using salted butter, so therefore it doesn't matter. 3 tablespoons of melted butter. Probably try just crack some butter off. I've got salted and unsalted butter together. I'm going to use the salted butter. Which reminds me, if I need more butter, that's the last of it. So I think about 25 grams would probably be enough. This already looks melted. I haven't even had it out of the fridge for very long. I'm going to try that. We'll see what that looks like. 30 seconds. Welcome to summer. Humidity and summer. Alright. So once we've got 3 tablespoons of that, I'm just going to put these eggs away so they don't hatch. They're not really going to hatch. So they don't fry. It's funny because up here in the mountains, most people think, oh, it must be lovely and cool there. No, I can honestly tell you, it has its moments, but we do get the really hot days and the humidity. All right, there's one. There's two. Oh, what a good guess. Thank you very much. All right, whatever I did, that was it. 3 tablespoons of melted butter. You witnessed it. You saw I did it first go. That was not pre-arranged, I swear. That was just flying by the seat of your pants. All right. Corn syrup. I had to use that for, must have made toffee or something. I'm not sure, but it's something that you use. It's like a setting agent or something. So yeah, as I say, thought, oh, not only is it pecan pie, but I could use something that I've had for a while as well, and I'm sure it should still be okay. I don't worry about use by dates as long as we're all fine once we eat it. So yes, it was 1 cup. It does sound a lot. It is going to be like pouring honey out. Normally when you make pecan pie, if you've ever made it before, it's normally maple syrup or golden syrup. So this is interesting. We are actually using corn syrup, probably the whole jar by the looks of it, to do the same job. Now I've still got to chop up a cup of pecans. Wow, just so you know, you nearly use a whole jar of this. So if you're on a budget, I don't think this is very expensive, but if you are on a budget, just so you know, that is nearly a whole jar of that. I think you can get that in Coles and or Woolworths. I can't even tell you which one I would have got it from because it was quite a few years ago. If I have to say it, it was probably Woolworths, okay? But don't quote me. Just best thing to do is Google it. If you do online shopping, use grocery shopping online, you'll find it there. Alright, that is close enough to my 1 cup. There is just a tiny bit of that left. I'm just going to leave that out for a while to see if I've got any left after all. Okay, so in goes that. This is quite painful. I don't think I used it for toffee apples. It was probably for toffee, now that I think about it, when I was making sweets. Because I had to buy a sweet thermometer as well, which came in handy when I was making jam, which was just before I started this show actually. I was making jam. So I have made a few different things. Okay, you're going to need a spoon to help this out. Another thing to do, it's like honey. I measured out honey last week, I think it was. Spray it with cooking spray, then it will come out easier. This is a sticky mess. And I don't even know if it's a tasty sticky mess, but the pie will be amazing. So, alright, that can go in the hopefully still hot soapy water. I need a spoon to clean the spoon. Alright. So the best way to cut the pecans, quickest way is the food processor. lazy way is not the food processor. I'll probably just do them on the chopping board. I'm lazy. I don't want to wash up the food processor, so I'll just grab a knife. Pecans are pretty easy to cut up because they're not a hard nut to cut up. So we need this many chopped up. I already had some. They are tasty. You're supposed to put some on top to decorate, but I probably can't be bothered doing that. I haven't had dinner yet, so I'm snacking. Ha! Watch out. Okay. Okay, so normally I'd break these up in the food processor, but you're going to get a smaller nut. So I think with pecan pie you want a more chunkier nut than $160 degrees, 35 minutes, and it's semi-cremated in areas. That's probably because of my pastry. So keep an eye on your oven. I could smell something burning. So maybe the pastry might not be very good, but I'm sure the rest of it will be fine. So alright, thank you for watching Cooking with Violet Vixen. Hopefully the perfect pecan pie is perfect, and I'm going to catch you next time. Bye!